What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Super BImmer Brothers. Right here with me, we got Nick Soto Tattoos. Nick and I actually go way back. I'm talking about 10 plus years. He's already a grandpa. Nick and I want to say, we sourced this beautiful E46 within the last month, and we're doing a lot of preventive care on it. So you can see we already stripped the top portion of the valve cover, removing all the coil packs, and finding some discoveries here that these coil packs were actually arcing. What we're gonna do is that we're actually gonna go through the whole vehicle, do a Vanos rebuild. So you guys know the Vanos goes right here. And Nick is really excited to drive this car in the next month or two. He's wanting to actually get his vehicles all sorted out before taking a nice rip on the freeway. So join us. Really not a DIY, but just taking you along with the things that we're gonna work on to make sure that this E46 is fine and drivable. So we just got the spark plugs out, and we're like looking at some of the deposits that you see in there. To the naked eye, it may seem like it's okay, but one of the things that we do is, number one, smell them. If you smell gas in these spark plugs, they're most likely fouled. And also some of the deposits look a little yellow. So they're probably old plugs or really bad gas.
There's like oil on this one.
That's from the valve cover.
The gasket?
Yeah, from the valve cover gasket.
There's a gasket in the middle.
Yeah, unless it's here, then you should be good. Yeah, that's a good thing.
If it's on the tip, that means it's blow by.
Yeah. So here at Super BImmer Brothers, this is what we do in the morning to get ready.
At the very minimum, guys, have at least 6 spark plugs in the morning.
With the cup of coffee.
Yeah, or motor oil, whichever comes first. Guys,
so we just managed to crack open the valve cover, and just by sheer observation, there's going to be a little bit of condensation just due to the fact that the PCV or CCV system tends to suck in air. You get some moisture settling in there, but overall, the first inspection, this looks relatively good. Here's one of the things that we can look at when inspecting. This is the upper hydraulic tensioner to the timing chain. And these things are made actually out of nylon, believe it or not. But with the use of oil, they manage to stay relatively, in good condition. I don't see like a rail mark on it, at least not from this angle. But this looks good. And so that's a pretty good sign that this vehicle has been lubricated properly. Taking a look at the lobes on the camshaft, there is little to no scoring. And this vehicle, or this engine, has seen some miles, and I'm just amazed at the fact that these lobes are still in relatively good condition. We haven't measured them, right? But just by observation, they look really nice. They look good. We just pulled out the water pump. We get a chance to look at the water pump. Here's a water pump. I like to mark my used parts right from the get-go. That way they don't end up with my new parts, etc. Things that to look for is some lateral play with these pumps, and of course the infamous plastic impeller. This actually sounds more like metal, but it looks like plastic. So it actually looks in pretty good condition, but while you're down there, might as well change it, since we are gonna do an entire timing chain refurb on this E46. So you guys can tell the housing is exposed for the pump. Good thing to see that there's no oil in there. This E46 needs a lot of love so that it doesn't end up like the ones in the yard. One of the most important aspects about working on any engine, not just any BMW engine, is setting your engine to top dead center, especially when you're getting ready to start working on the timing system, whether it be chains, sprockets. Set your engine to top dead center, that way you don't have any surprises in the end. For the BMW M50 blocks, you simply turn the crank counterclockwise, and then what you look for is not only, of course, the notch that we'll eventually find on this pulley, or harmonic balancer, but also the two beautiful dots that you find at the end of the camshafts. Now with the spark plugs already removed, this is a simple task, which it isn't when you have spark plugs because of compression. There you go. So take a look at those beautiful dots. Any video that you find online will tell you to do that. Let's get to it. M54 and 52 timing kit, you know, you have these two wonderful tools that allow you to set up your upper chain, you know, in harmony, and of course, you know, dial the Vanos height as you insert it. Along with this kit, you know, comes this dowel. This dowel, trust me, is going to be, you know, super instrumental in helping you guys, you know, setting that time on your M54. All right, Super BImmer brothers, I've gotten the dowel in there. You'll probably be able to see it. Geez, it's really hard to see from this angle, and the light work doesn't actually do any help. But it's right underneath the starter. Oh, there it is. There it is. So right under the starter, and it's actually in between two fins. It's such a terrible angle. Anyways, that needs to be in there to make sure that the engine is always in proper timing. Like I said, it's a lifesaver, and for any M50 / you know, platform engine, it's a must. All right, you don't want to mess with the timing because you don't want to end up with either bent valves or, well, that's worst case scenario, or you know, just a bad, you know, mixture. You don't want your engine overheating. By now you probably already realized that we need to remove that harmonic balancer in order to access the timing cover, and of course to remove the timing chain. So now that our dowel is in, we can officially remove that bolt. That pesky bolt surprisingly actually needs to be torqued back in to 300 foot-pound. We're gonna start doing some push-ups before the end of this job.
Hold it.
Yeah, it's such a lifesaver. Nice. I didn't mention that. Hey guys, so it's the next day, and we made some progress at removing the Vanos. There's plenty of write-ups up out there on the internet. Here's what we got so far. We've removed some of the reluctor plates on the exhaust side, and you know, just going back and forth between the exhaust and the intake, removing these reluctor plates. One thing to note, however, is that's very important, is this gap that we have here between the spline on the intake side and the outer, you know, these gaps right here, okay? These are important, and these are actually part of the reassembly process. So I would keep, you know, a mental note of those, just because, you know, they have to match. In addition to that first, you know, that front reluctor plate that we have here, it actually has an arrow that matches with the edge of the head. So it matches with this here. All right, so that makes reassembly easier. This spline will eventually come out as I, you know, pull out, you know, the gear. We'll be replacing the upper timing chain, so this one between the cams and the main one. Hey guys, so we're getting ready to remove the timing cover, and one of the things that we always forget, or we tend to forget, is that timing cover is actually attached to the oil pan. And so, man, we're so grateful to have a lift, right? Isn't it great having a lift?
It's game changing. I mean, nothing wrong with working on your back, but I mean, you gotta graduate sometime if you can. But even a quick jack, you guys saw us use the quick jack in the past. that's even a worthwhile investment.
Absolutely.
To just get off the ground.
Skipped over a lot of work, didn't film it. A lot of hard work. As you guys probably already know from this engine, we have a coolant line that attaches to the, here it is, you can probably see it from this angle. This coolant line attaches to the timing cover because you have the pump attached to it. And so it was just not budging. Anyways, this car was experiencing a little bit of rattling. And this was the culprit at start. It would start, rattling. And we just installed new guides, new chain, and we're gonna start buttoning up from the timing cover on up, and making sure that this bad boy is actually in good timing. So we're gonna use our double Vanos. That's our double Vanos tool, which is underneath all these bolts and tools to make sure that the timing is proper. If you guys have any questions, concerns, as I'm doing this install, don't be shy to chime in, because we've done this many times, but there's always great tips out there in the community. I know that eventually our client is going to want to refresh the cooling system so that those tubes will be replaced. But from the looks of it, this had been neglected for a little while. This is going to make this car, run again smoothly, more reliably. One more thing, if you guys are doing this job, these sprockets have a marker. This bigger marker, this is the exhaust side. This marker on the sprocket should point towards the edge of the valve cover mating surface. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually applying this tool. This is a specialty tool for the timing guide to apply pressure to the chain as we further walk through this process of installing the double Vanos on top. Remember that there's an upper chain that needs to be installed along with reluctor plates and shims. From the shop for a couple days, like I said, and but we're gonna get back and tackle this Vanos, this double Vanos, take it apart, and of course use Basin Systems for our repair. Now Basin has been really good to us over the years for the M52s that I've worked on, and M50s, they've been really great. So they come with this kit. This is Vanos part 11361. So you can see from there. These come in pairs because you have the two Vanos, and of course the Teflon substrate O-rings for the pistons that are found inside. And so let's get to it. All right, champs, as you guys take apart your Vanos, you'll notice that you'll have this spring-loaded one on the left-hand side. So this is the intake side. This is the exhaust side. Both sides, as you guys can tell, have a set of cylinders inside, and these get pushed by the oil pressure as soon as this little unit here, the solenoid, pushes it out, and it allows oil to come in. So there's the seals. Inside this one, there's another one. Basin System, like I said, makes these beautiful replacements that are Teflon based, and they actually hold better over time. This is called the anti-rattle kit, as I mentioned before. So a lot of M50 platform engines, will have, rattling at low RPMs, and that's due to that. And so we want to replace those, and freshen up Nick's new M54, actually Nick's M54, so that he can get it back on the road. So I'm going to go ahead and take this apart. It's already actually, pretty much taken apart. I'm saving this O-ring, or actually seal, because I'm going to reuse it, and we're actually I'm going to add some compound to this before I reseal it. But as you can tell, it's a pretty simple system of 2 cylinders, both of which contain these components that I outlined. You have the O-rings and you have the anti-rattle rings, and these are actually inside. As I take these apart, you'll get a better glance at what these are about. Okay guys, so I just removed the cylinder out of the Vanos housing. As you can see, the cylinder slides in and out in conjunction with the actual whole housing. But what I'm going to do now is, before I actually clean these parts, I'm going to remove these O-rings, and these are the failing O-rings that make the Vanos lose pressure. I gotta tell you guys, these things are so old and brittly. Take a look at this. I was having such a hard time pulling these things out. But look at how brittle these things are. These are obviously like the original ones. They should have some sort of flexibility. They bake in there, get hard and brittly. I was able to remove all of them on this one. It's a little pain in the butt, but with a little bit of persistence, you can get them all of them out. Once again, be really careful using a blade on these things, especially if you're working on a freshly removed set that has a lot of oil on them. Just be really careful. I find that doing an X like this takes care of it. You do have to apply, some pressure to it for the blade to glide down all the way down to the surface. Just be really careful not to score these. What I'm gonna do after this is I'm actually gonna clean them in our parts cleaner, just to make sure that we have a nice clean, set of cylinders installed into our unit. Okay guys, just really quick update. I just got these cylinders cleaned up. Went ahead and put them in the parts washer. These are aluminum, so I wouldn't keep them in there too long. I find that our parts cleaner tends to etch metal, particularly aluminum. So I went ahead and rinsed these. I'm gonna clean these up really well right before I install the actual seals or the O-rings. Just a note, these actually have both the same part number, so they work. This is something that not all people feature on the videos, but they're pretty much the same part number. And unless you notice excessive wear, which you don't, you can actually still see the machining. I wouldn't be really concerned about if these two get swapped, because they're pretty much the same part number. Okay, so now we're gonna get ready to install our actual O-rings. Basin System does a really good job at explaining why their product is superior to OEM. It has a sort of a Teflon substrate, which keeps them alive for a long time. going on, guys? So this is the third day that we're working on this Vanos. I just had a chance to insert the cylinders in there, or the pistons rather, and I think I've been calling them cylinders for the last 2 days, and reassembling them. Along with that, our replacement seals, the O-rings. So you guys can tell, once again, these are brittle old ones that are stock. Our friends at Basin Systems make a really good solution for these repairs, or actually restorations, if you actually think about it. There is like a little braking period for these units. Sometimes they tend to be a little bit tight, so you have to drive your vehicle, I want to say probably like 100 miles before it breaks in. But take a look at this. You can actually see the piston glide in just very smoothly without any lateral play. Also, this is going to eliminate some of the rattle that you'll hear from the housing, because we changed that ring that actually, if you think about it, it looks like an engagement ring.
That's what it is, right?
It's an engagement ring. Anyway, so there we have it, guys. All we have left to do is torque these down. And I think it's going to be 10 foot-pounds. Can't quite recall. I'll look at my specs. And this puppy's ready to be put back in. But let's go take a look at the engine bay, because we have some work left to do. Reassemble pretty much the timing components between the cams. But as you can see, these are the splines. And these are actually very important in the reassembly, because these buck teeth that you see here are what's going to help us put these puppies back together. We've done extensive work to this E46, and we are actually at the oil pan at this moment. And if you guys can take a look, this is the belly of the car. You have to hold the engine with the brace in order for you to lower the subframe and access that oil pan. What can I say? BMW does a good job at many things, but I don't know about this. But anyhow, while you're down here, if you have the curiosity to check for free play and your rods, you can remove that brace, or rather baffle, and also remove the oil pickup. This is actually a really good time to reinforce this oil pump. So while we're here, we're gonna go ahead and drill through that spline right here. We'll actually drill through the nut and then through the spline and install a cotter pin, and that's going to keep our French sprocket from loosening. Care of the timing, the leaks, and now we're ready for the next stage in this M54. In the meantime, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.